All right. Picture this. You're handed, say, a new business card at an event,
Okay.
or you pick up the menu at a restaurant you've never been to before. What's the very first thing your hand tells you
Mm.
about that person or that place?
Mm-hmm.
Not what your eyes read, but what your fingers feel. That split-second sensation, the weight, the texture, it's communicating something silently, unconsciously, before you even process a single word.
Yeah, that initial touch.
Exactly. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack these hidden forces that shape our decisions and perceptions. Today, we're plunging into the fascinating, often overlooked world of haptic cues.
Haptic cues, right.
That's the scientific term for the sensations we get from touch. And we're exploring how these subtle nonverbal messages profoundly influence our judgment of businesses and brands. We're not just talking about how a product itself feels.
No, this is different.
Right. It's about those incidental items, the business cards, the menus, the flyers, how they can actually shape your entire impression of a company. Kind of wild.
It really is.
So, our mission for you in this deep dive is to uncover the surprising ways the weight and softness of everyday retail items silently communicate whether a brand is competent or warm.
Competence and warmth, yeah.
You'll see how this impacts real-world decisions, like whether you use a discount card or if you'd recommend a service. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding a powerful hidden layer of consumer psychology. It's always there. Always at play.
Absolutely.
So let's get started. When we talk about haptics, what exactly are we referring to? What kind of sensory information are our hands picking up, often without us even realizing it?
It's truly remarkable, isn't it? Haptic properties are essentially all those sensory perceptions we gain primarily through touch. So we're talking about attributes like an object's weight,
Okay, wait.
its softness or hardness, its texture,
Yeah.
is it smooth, rough, maybe bumpy, and even its temperature. These are like the unsung heroes of sensory input, constantly feeding info to our brains.
And it's everywhere, right? I mean, I never consciously think about the weight of a menu, but you're saying my brain is absolutely registering it.
Exactly. Think about those everyday scenarios. Dining out, it's the heft of the menu, maybe the smooth, cool finish of a plate or the softness of a linen napkin.
Mm-hmm.
When you're shopping, it's handling a discount card, a store brochure, a business card, maybe even those weekly circulars. Each of these has a distinct feel.
Right.
And what researchers really wanted to know was, can these haptic properties, these subtle touch sensations, trigger non-conscious associations that actually influence our social judgments of the retailer?
That's a powerful idea. Our hands making decisions before our minds.
Sort of, yeah. It's a profound question.
And you mentioned social judgments. What specific judgments are these haptic cues influencing? Because not all impressions are created equal, are they?
You're absolutely right. This research zeroes in on two core social judgments that are incredibly fundamental: competence and warmth.
Confidence and warmth.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Competence captures traits like efficacy, skill, capability, intelligence. Basically, the can they do the job well
Yeah.
factor.
Got it.
Warmth, on the other hand, relates to attributes like friendliness, sociability, helpfulness, kind of the do they care about me factor.
Right.
And get this, these two dimensions are so powerful, they account for a staggering 82% of how we perceive everyday social behaviors.
Wow, 82%. That's huge.
It is. So if we can tap into those with something as simple as touch, well, that's a potential game changer.
That's fascinating. So how do simple haptic cues tap into something so fundamental? What's the theory? How does that connection work?
Well, this brings us right into the concept of embodied cognition.
Embodied cognition. Okay.
It's the idea that our abstract thoughts and judgments are deeply rooted in our physical experiences. Our bodies aren't just carrying our minds around, they're actively shaping how we think and feel.
So the physical sensation directly links to these higher level judgments. Let's start with weight. How does the weight of an object connect to something like competence?
It's a connection that's been explored in some really intriguing ways. Past research has consistently shown that the perception of competence often seems grounded in the physical experience of weight.
Okay.
Think about it. Things that are important, sturdy, high-performing, they often have a certain heft, right?
Yeah, like a heavy, solid door feels more secure, or a well-made tool feels more reliable. I get that.
Precisely. One study, for instance, had people review job applicant resumes. Some resumes were on a heavy clipboard, others on a light one.
Okay, simple enough.
And the finding, those reviewing resumes on the heavy clipboard perceived the applicants as significantly more competent.
Just from a clipboard way.
Just from the weight. Another study found holding a heavy clipboard simply increased the perceived importance of whatever was being evaluated on it. Even holding heavier books made them seem more important.
Uh-huh.
So the link seems pretty robust.
Uh,
Heavier weight subtly triggers associations like high performance, importance, usefulness, and these associations can then transfer to the retailer or service provider, often completely unconsciously.
that makes a strange, kind of intuitive sense once you explain it. But what about softness? How does that connect to warmth? That feels like a different kind of association.
It is, yeah, and it draws heavily from our earliest experiences, childhood development. Think about the fundamental comfort we associate with soft touch: cuddling, being patted, held by caregivers.
Okay. Primal stuff.
Exactly. These experiences create feelings of safety, security, comfort. We learn very early on to associate softness with care, with warmth.
So it's almost hardwired, that connection between soft and reassurance.
It seems to be. Researchers found children in scary situations felt less discomfort with soft touch, and this connection persists. Studies show adults given a soft blanket to touch judged employees they later interacted with as more kind and flexible.
Wow, a soft blanket.
Yeah. Another one, just touching a teddy bear led participants to feel more socially connected.
A teddy bear.
So softness triggers feelings of warmth, security, comfort, reassurance,
Hmm.
and these deep feelings can transfer to how we perceive a retailer. It's like a subconscious shortcut to trust and approachability.
Okay, so we have these strong theoretical links. Weight competence, softness, warmth. But how does this play out in the real world? Does it actually influence, shopping behavior?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And where the research gets incredibly compelling. One study actually took this into a real-world setting, a university stationery store.
Oh, okay. Out in the wild. How did they test this in a busy store without people knowing?
It was pretty clever. They distributed store-branded discount cards to students during registration week. But here's the key. These weren't standard cards. They designed 4 versions.
Let me guess. Heavy, light, soft, hard.
You got it. Light hard, light soft, heavy hard, and heavy soft. Then they just tracked what happened. Did students use the card? Did they sign up for emails? How much did they spend?
And did the feel of the card actually make a difference to sales?
A significant difference. Students with the heavy cards, they redeemed them almost 50% more often than those with light cards.
50%. That's huge.
Huge. And the same pattern for soft cards, much higher redemption rate compared to hard ones. And it wasn't just using the card.
What else?
Heavy cards led to way more signups for promotional emails. Soft cards did too.
Wow. So the physical feel drove real actions, using the discount, signing up. But did it hit the bottom line? Did they spend more money?
That's the real kicker. Students who got the cards that were both heavy and soft, their average spending was $75.30.
75 bucks. Okay. And the others?
Compare that to those with the light and hard cards. Their average spend, just $13.
13. That's astonishing.
No.
A massive difference in actual revenue just from the feel of a discount card.
Exactly. It shows that immediate, tangible impact. It's like it bypasses conscious thought and goes straight to influencing behavior, driving real economic outcomes.
Okay, that's seriously compelling, but why? How do we know it's specifically competence and warmth doing the work here and not just some general, like, ooh, this feels nice effect? To really pin that down, I guess they had to go back to the lab.
Precisely. To isolate those underlying mechanisms, the next step was a more controlled lab setting. They set up an experiment focusing on a fictitious career consulting service.
Fair consulting, okay.
And participants were given different business cards: standard, heavy, soft, sometimes just a digital version, or maybe no card at all.
And what were they measuring specifically this time?
They wanted explicit ratings.
Yeah.
How competent did they think the consultant was? How warm? And crucially, how likely were they to recommend the service to others, trying to connect the cue, the judgment, and the intention?
Right. And did the links hold up? Heavy cards still meant competent.
Absolutely. Participants who got a heavy business card rated the consultant as significantly more competent than with a standard card, a noticeable jump. And here's the key part for specificity. The heavy card didn't significantly affect how warm they thought the consultant was.
Ah, so it really was targeting competence. Okay. And the soft cards, did they specifically boost warmth?
Yes, perfectly. The soft business card led to perceptions of higher warmth. Again, a clear increase compared to the standard. And just like weight, the soft card didn't significantly affect perceived competence.
Wow, so the effects are really distinct. That's fascinating.
Exactly. Weight for competence, softness for warmth, clean separation.
Okay, this is where it gets really insightful. You mentioned mediation before the why. How did they connect these specific perceptions, competence, and warmth to whether people would actually recommend the service?
This is such a crucial finding because it maps the pathway. They found that the feeling of competence, triggered by that heavy card, acted as the essential middleman, the mediator, directly leading to a higher chance of recommending the service.
So it wasn't just heavy recommend, it was heavy competent recommend.
Exactly. The heavy card signaled this service is competent, and that belief drove the recommendation. And same for warmth. The feeling of warmth from the soft card mediated the intention to recommend. Soft card says, this service is warm and friendly, and that feeling makes you want to recommend them.
That clarification of the pathway is huge. It's not just a vague feeling, it's specific information being conveyed.
Precisely. It tells us how touch influences these important downstream behaviors.
Okay, so this is powerful stuff, but I'm still wondering, is it always this straightforward? What if you already love a brand or maybe you dislike them? Does your existing opinion just wash out these subtle haptic cues?
That's an excellent question. And it's exactly what the next stage of research tackled. Does the retailer's existing reputation change how these haptic cues hit us? Does it moderate the effect?
Okay, so how do they test that? Another lab study.
Yep, another lab experiment, but with a neat twist. Participants got promotional flyers for a made-up gift store. Again, flyers varied, standard, heavy, or soft.
Right.
But this time, they added another layer. They manipulated the retailer's image. Some people were led to believe the store had a less favorable reputation, based on some fictional ratings,
Okay.
while others were told it had a more favorable image. So now they could see if that existing reputation mattered for how the flyers felt.
Clever. And what happened? Did a good reputation make the flyers feel less important?
Exactly that. It showed a clear moderating effect. For retailers presented with a less favorable initial image, the haptics made a big difference.
How so?
A heavy flyer significantly boosted judgments of competence for that struggling store, and a soft flyer significantly increased judgments of warmth. In those cases, the touch was acting as like a powerful corrective.
So if a business is trying to overcome a shaky start or they're just unknown, these haptic cues could be a secret weapon.
That's exactly it. But here's the flip side. For retailers who are already presented with a more favorable image.
Let me guess. The flyers didn't matter as much.
Right. The haptic cues, heavy or soft, had no significant impact on perceptions of competence or warmth. It was like people thought, I already know this place is good, and the flyer's feel didn't add much new information.
That's fascinating. It tells you exactly when these cues pack the most punch. If you're already a beloved brand, maybe the heavy cardstock is less critical.
It seems that way. The existing positive image might be discounted or just not register as strongly. It suggests the retailer's established image acts as a kind of reference point.
An anchor, maybe?
Yeah, an anchor. We anchor our evaluations on the strongest cue available. If the brand image is strong and positive, that's the main anchor. Incidental haptics, less influence. But if the image is weaker or non-existent.
Then the haptics become more diagnostic, more influential in helping us figure the brand out.
Exactly. Customers use that touch information to fill in the blanks about the brand's character. It's a really strategic insight.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for you, our listener. How can you apply this knowledge? Both as a consumer, maybe being more aware, but also if you're involved in a business. What are the practical takeaways here?
Well, first off, despite the, digital everything,
Mm-hmm.
this research clearly shows that physical promotional tools are far from dead.
Right. Don't throw out the printing press yet.
Definitely not. The tangible touch of a business card, a brochure, a flyer, it still holds significant power. It can literally spark conversations and connections in a way a digital ad maybe can't quite replicate.
So it's about designing those physical materials intentionally. If a business wants to project competence, maybe a law firm, a luxury brand, an electronics company, what should they be doing?
They should absolutely lean into heavy-weighted haptic cues, thick, substantial business cards, weighty catalogs, maybe even more robust product packaging. It silently screams efficacy, skill, importance.
Okay, and the flip side. If you want to signal warmth, friendliness, approachability, like a cozy cafe, a kid's clothing store, a gift shop.
Then you prioritize soft haptic cues. Think velvet touch flyers, soft textured packaging, those nice linen napkins we talked about. It creates an immediate sense of warmth, comfort, welcome.
And we need to think beyond just paper, right? This isn't only about the flyer, it's the whole sensory picture.
Totally. Think about all the incidental haptic inputs. The feel of merchandise tags, the texture of the shopping bag, the flooring under your feet, even like the handle on the door as you walk in.
Wow, okay.
every touch point.
Every single one contributes to the overall brand message. And what's more, these haptic elements can actually support other investments, like staff training, in places with high turnover.
Yeah.
Consistent positive haptic cues can provide a stable message, a baseline of quality, even if the staff changes.
That's a really interesting point. So if we zoom out a bit, the big picture here isn't just about picking paper stock. It's about designing entire experiences, isn't it? That's absolutely it. It shows that every single touch point, no matter how small or seemingly minor, can be a nonverbal message.
Hmm.
And that message profoundly shapes how you feel about a brand or a service provider. It influences trust, loyalty, everything.
So it's about building a consistent, multisensory story, one that speaks directly to your customer's subconscious.
You nailed it. That's the power of haptics.
So to wrap up our deep dive today, we've seen how something as simple as the weight or softness of an object can, well, unconsciously shape your perceptions of a retailer's competence and warmth.
Big time.
And these perceptions, they actually drive your behavior, whether you buy, whether you recommend, especially when you don't already have a strong opinion about the place.
Exactly. Powerful stuff when you're starting out or need to shift perception.
So here's a thought for you. The next time you pick up a menu, a business card, maybe even just a tag on a piece of clothing, pause for a second. Consider, what is this object silently communicating to your subconscious?
Yeah, what's the hidden message?
And think about this too. How might the timing of that touch, is it the first thing you feel or something later? How might that influence your judgment? And how might the look of the brand or even the person handing you the item interact with that physical sensation?
Ooh, good questions. Lots of layers.
It really is. The world of touch in retail is like this complex symphony, and now hopefully you have a bit more of a conductor's ear for it.